Welcome, my 289 subscribers, everyone who hasn't given up on AEW yet, everyone who thinks that wait paid off tonight, and we here to make history. Welcome to my review of AEW Dynamite Holiday Bash 2022. Let's begin. So the first segment of the night is Ricky Starks' promo reacting to his loss to MJF. It's a sort of like fallout thing. He tries to get the positives out of the situation even after he lost the match. It's by cheating, but a loss is a loss. I mean, it's kind of like how I try to find all of the positives in absolutely shitty situations to prevent a complete breakdown. But the title is still far off from Ricky Starks, I think. He did put in a nice performance, but it wasn't revolutionary or anything. It wasn't legendary, just like Jamie versus Shida at the end of the night. That one actually alters the entire division just because of how good those two are. Makes you think why these two weren't pushed earlier, especially Shida, instead making room for Jade Cargill, Marina Shafir, Paige Van Zandt, all of that schlock, even Thunder Rosa to a point. But yeah, the dude is, I think, in MJF's position when he started, early on in AEW, he was established in the upper mid card, but instead Ricky Starks is a babyface. So yeah, he's finally in the upper mid card, and I think this next feud that they set up is a nice gateway to the main event scene, especially if he wins. And that's all fine and dandy, but Jericho, the guy who's who comes out and tries to actually invite him to the faction, the guy who's Ricky Starks' next feud, and it's Chris Jericho. He comes out flanked by his two junior members, Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia, one shadowing the other. He tries to invite Ricky into the faction, which I think is a good idea, but he is very early on to his babyface run, so there was no chance of this happening. And I think Chris Jericho is at his lowest stock right now since he lost to Action Andretti, which is still not that special. Just in my personal opinion, because Andretti was just an average high-flying wrestler in that match. It's his status as enhancement talent that actually got the crowd behind him, and he further proves it with his promo skills later, that he's not ready for main roster AEW. But the promos of this Starks-Jericho feud started out with a bang because Starks cut a very on-the-nose sort of trashing sort of promo. It's well delivered, but a bit too on the nose, and I think he missed a chance to play into how Jericho screwed Sammy Guevara over in that four-way. But he instead went for Daniel Garcia's title loss, and that was a clean match, so why even go there? Not much interaction from the Kohai shadowing the Senpai in this sort of Garcia and Guevara. Not much progression really in 2 weeks. He didn't even accompany Sammy in his match against Mox. And honestly, shit should be starting right now. Have them go for tag titles or something. Have someone go for the All-Atlantic Championship. Maybe succeed. And then have them feud for it. Or go a comedy route before you go there. Because there is potential in this storyline. And Sammy's gonna be doing the heavy lifting because Daniel Garcia's charisma isn't really there yet. It won't be as dramatic as Garcia joining BCC, but you can still have that down the line. And as for now, just have them do funny stuff, maybe for a month or two, maybe after the next pay-per-view. Have them break down in the pay-per-view, and then in the next one have them have a proper match. Even on Ring of Honor, even wherever. So Ricky Starks rejects joining the faction. He throws some shade to Chris Jericho, a bit too much. And then he gets attacked by Jake Hager, predictably. And then he's saved by Action Andretti, which, why? Why even have these two team up? Their styles don't match, their looks don't match, the vibe they give off doesn't match. One is a new guy and I think should do new guy things, and the other is like upper mid card. So this just makes me dislike the Action Andretti victory like just even more. Because that should have been Takeshita. That should have been like anyone else who is more competent in the ring or on the mic rather than like just a complete jobber. But I understand that his enhancement talent status is what like helped that moment be as big as it is. So yeah, baby faces stand tall, question mark, in the end. And I much prefer if Action Andretti is like taken out and have Ricky Starks go through the entire faction. That'll be awesome. Wait, Andretti does get taken out, so I guess he's out of the feud this early. Maybe he's gonna go for another save later down the line. So what's even the point of including him in this? Why not just like have Eddie Kingston, have Konosuke Takeshita, have them team up with Ricky Starks. They can make up in their wrestling and actually in Eddie Kingston's promos with what Ricky Starks lacks in the ring. So yeah, I think this is a missed opportunity. Andretti isn't ready yet, and I'll be talking about that later on in his segment. After this is the Elite versus Death Triangle, match number 5, is it? It's no DQ, and in a vacuum, it might be the best match of the series. But with the context, just like I say every week with this match, it's just exhausting seeing these two teams wrestle. I say that every week now. This match sort of brought the feud back. It heated it back up a little, but its possible ceiling has been reduced so much. Like, if you do your best, you might get above average, but it won't be like legendary just because of like the fatigue of just watching two teams wrestle like every week even. No promos in between, just matches. No backstage interactions of whatever kind. Just matches upon matches. And commentary sort of telegraphs the comeback victory too much. The last match is Escalera de la Muerte. Like, how is it not gonna reach match 7? I think they brought on the stipulations too late, and they should have went with like some backstage sort of brawl match at like number 3 or 4. But yeah, like I said, in a vacuum, this is the best match of the series. Because it starts out like as a fun, sort of like Christmas special match. We see Michael Nakazawa in action. This popped me because it came out of nowhere. He just suddenly did a corner attack on, I forgot who it was. And then Brandon Cutler as an elf also interacts with some people. Specifically Alex Abrantes, who I don't know what he's thinking because this isn't a non-performer or like a non-wrestler. This isn't Jose from the Faction. Brandon Cutler is like an active wrestler. And so of course he kicks Alex's ass. It's all nice, goofy Christmas fun at the start that's built upon when Penta brings in a Christmas tree and then they take bumps on it. I've never taken a bump on an artificial Christmas tree before. I don't know if it hurts, but we have one at home and the pines do sting, but it's the protrusions as well as like the hard structure of the Christmas tree itself that's gonna get you. All of the Elite take bumps on the tree differently. Kenny probably takes the hardest one because the tree is like straight, upright, and still structurally sound. Nick takes a Shawn Michaels bump on a bent tree, and I guess it's okay. And then Matt takes a meh bump, but then rebounds back and gets attacked after. The crowd love this, I love this spot, but it's not top 3. There is continuity with Nick's injury. The man super kicks a chair and then sells his right dominant ankle pretty consistently throughout the match. Third spot of the match is a you can't escape with a trash can mounted on the post, and then Kenny grabs it on the way down for the moonsault. Things heat up when Kenny gets the barbed wire broom. Second spot of the match is when Kenny does a tiger driver on the broom. Some of the barbed wire gets stuck on his leg, and he comes out fine. Top spot of the match, though, is the double table dives on the outside. It would have been better if this happened in sync with each other, but it's okay. The submission spot is a bit too underwhelming since Pac uses like the sort of wire from the tree to choke Kenny out. Not a very spectacular object to use to choke someone out. And this was too fast. It like ended too fast. Not much drama really. Not much movement. Just Matt breaking out of it. Like breaking everyone else out of it. The finish is Death Triangle all have hammers. They're all looking to end Omega, but the Bucks help out. They set Phoenix up for the Meltzer driver on the chair for the win. Elite take match number 2, and then we have a post-match beatdown that I think was unnecessary. The Elite could have just looked strong here since they were down 3-1. Now they're 3-2. Nick even did like a bleeding spot, which should have happened in the match. It becomes too prolonged, and I guess Death Triangle have their heat back. But a positive I can take out of this is that we're seeing that they're slowly losing their cool. They are like turning heel right before our eyes. And this will affect their performance, just like I guess what was referenced, the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers, when the Warriors blew a 3-1 lead when the NBA was shit. So this match itself was maybe like a TV main event, pay-per-view undercard match. It could have been better. And I think it's like teetering around number 1 and number 2 match of the series, but none of the matches of the series have been like incredible. I did like the one with the Punk references the best, and then I guess this goes to number 2. So yeah, looking forward to the last 2 and for this to be over. So after this is MJF's post-match promo replay from last week's Winter is Coming. It's a nice promo by MJF. He isn't really in the show. He like makes an appearance watching TV, but that's it. This promo though was one of the better worded ones. I like the statement, "You will eat less than what you desire and more than what you deserve," as a way of MJF putting himself over, that people just want to leech off of him. So this was short and sweet, and I love how this just reflects what Regal said to him, or what Regal said to the Blackpool Combat Club, that everyone's gonna be gunning for you, or like MJF. I think as this goes on, that's gonna wear off on MJF. He's gonna start getting used to it, he's gonna start being comfortable, and then that's when he loses the title. And this builds upon Danielson's promo later on in the show. And so after this, the Action Andretti promo. So Andretti cuts a promo about his win. He looks like he's going to be an AEW regular now, which I have like some doubts over, like just having him there. Dude needs more reps in the indies, or I think in dark, because I think he doesn't cut a better promo than what Dante does like right now. He does cut a better promo than when it was like Dante back then. I appreciate your admiration for my potential, but on a rampage I will defeat you. It like sounded like that. Or like Sky's promo, but it sounds less robotic. But instead, what Andretti sounds like here is, it's like he's performing in a play. It doesn't really sound natural like how Starks, MJF, and even Danielson later sound. Dude needs more reps. And I think the part when he talks about Ricky Starks just shows how like bad this guy is in promos. It just sounds monotonous the whole time. And then thankfully, 2 better promos come in, and then they distract Andretti with like the corniest shit, but very entertaining. You're on fire, and then the wizard himself, Chris Jericho, throws a fireball on his face. Beautifully done. It like stayed on him as he went down. This was awesome. It's been a long time since this happened. And I guess Andretti's out for maybe like 2 weeks or something. Maybe someone else will help Starks, hopefully Eddie, or even Konosuke. Konosuke should have beaten Jericho instead of Andretti, just saying. So yeah, after this, we have the Bryan Danielson promo. And it's like night and day when this guy performs as compared to Andretti, because he's like the complete package. So natural on the mic when he's like not yelling all over the place. When he starts yelling, that's when he loses me, since He's not a really good yeller. It's monotonous when he does this. His voice doesn't really go up as much. He's not a Kevin Owens. He's not a Hangman Page when he yells. Also, like, I don't even think Kenny can yell that much. Eddie Kingston is a guy who can fucking yell. I guess that's a skill, talking loudly. But he cuts a really good promo on MJF. He mentions William Regal a lot. Even if he's not with the company anymore, I'm glad that they just didn't kill him off. And I'm kind of sad that Danielson is going out super early in MJF's title run. Like, he would have been the perfect guy to take off the title from MJF. Now it's obviously going to be Hangman or Kenny as like saviors of AEW, but maybe like having a former WWE talent who MJF hates very much, I think was the way to go. I like how the wider universe of wrestling is like mentioned or acknowledged in AEW. That's one of the things they do so well. And I also think that's the right mentality to go by. He calls MJF out, and I like how he specifies that you tried to hospitalize someone that I love more than anyone in this world except my family. He just had to like slide that one in there. As he goes super intense and pretty monotonous when he yells. He calls MJF out, but we get an MJF like in Ethan Page. Not light in any way, but Page takes a more comedic route. He establishes himself as a sub-boss to start, like a bridge to get to MJF since he made it to the finals. I love how he still has claims on the title, and this just all makes sense. He is amazing on the mic. He calls Danielson Vegetable Man, and that has a double meaning that he explains later on. It's like very low level schoolyard sort of stuff. Even Danielson's comeback. But when Page threatened to turn Danielson into a literal vegetable, that was like funny and quite threatening, given Danielson's history with concussions. Danielson challenges him to a match right now, but as the heel, predictably, he holds off till next week. So yeah, this is the best segment of the night, but I think this is dragged down by one later, as well as some parts of the ones that came earlier. And then after this is Mox's promo. So this is Mox's promo that connects to the match that's promoted for Rampage. That's gonna happen an hour from now, since I'm recording this on the day of Rampage. Finally have time now. And it's the kayfabe $300,000 Three King Christmas Casino Battle Royal. So it's a trios Battle Royal. It's gonna be messy as shit, but fun, I think. It better be fun. I spot two cannon fodder teams. A Dark Horse team in AR Fox and Top Flight. A filler team with La Facción. Two teams that will cancel each other out in BCC and the Dark Order. And I think the winners, like the obvious winners, just because of the story that they come in with, which is to buy Trent's mom a new house. And yeah, I really think best friends are gonna win. Let's get Trent's mom a new house. So yeah, and then Mox's promo after this is addressed to Hangman. And I like that he's starting to sound heelish, but not completely, since it's in his character to destroy people. He moves on to Darius Martin and foreshadows the beating that will come later on in the night. And then after this is another promo. So like we have, how many did we have? We have like, shit, did you fucking hear that paper stuff? We had like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 promos back to back to back to back to back. Because right after this is Joe versus Wardlow. So Joe cuts this Christmas promo, a very uncharacteristic one, like a corporate side of Samoa Joe, very suave. But then he reverts back to Joe, and I don't like the direction this feud is taking. Since the match between the two for the TNT title is next week, and all signs point to Wardlow winning, but they haven't really built the feud enough since after Joe won the belt. I would have saved this for the pay-per-view, and even then, I think Wardlow winning will do nothing for him. I think the belt is actually better with Joe. He can cut better promos, he can still go in the ring, and having him have this like Miro-esque run is bound to make the TNT title a lot better. Or hell, even have Miro challenge for it and have him struggle. Eventually have Miro win in the end, since he doesn't want to put anyone over. I don't think this will work with Wardlow versus Miro though, since Miro will inevitably become the face, and it won't do any favors for Wardlow, who I think is the inferior performer, especially on the mic. And yes, I'm gonna use this chance to say that Miro deserves to be on TV. He's a big star. He's very capable. But him not wanting to put anyone else over, especially, I think that's Malachi Black, he didn't want to put over. They were having a feud and then it just stopped. So I guess it's him. But yeah, shitty situation. Just bring him in. Dude's on contract. And so after this is Hook versus an enhancement talent. This is the most unnecessary thing in the entire show, even given the post-match segment. Because, I mean, we've seen this with Hook on Rampage over and over and over again. I know Hook's over, but, I mean, he's too young and too small to be this dominant. I want to see him against mid-carders, and I want to see him struggle. He destroys Exodus Prime, who I think is a transformer, and then watches this like Titantron video where we don't even get his reactions. The Firm throw Jungle Boy in the trash, and I think it was better, or it is better, if this was Jungle Boy in the ring. Jungle Boy should be the stronger partner in this faction. Since he's bigger, he's more experienced, he beat Luchasaurus in a cage match. And then this just ends. We don't even see the save. Hook just leaves as Mox makes his entrance. This was some poor booking right here. And so after this is Jon Moxley versus Darius Martin. So this match was very poorly received from what I've seen in the Facebook comments as well as social media. But the Facebook comments are usually WWE shills or fucking Cornette fanatics. But this match was like okay. It wasn't the best, and I think it's more because of what Dante Martin can do, that Darius isn't just as good as Dante for now. He's a pretty by-the-books junior wrestler. And I think it's because of the lack of exposure, the lack of reps, that he's being viewed like this. It's almost like Finn Balor 2016 onwards. His tactics in the match are very questionable since he fights Jon Moxley's match. When you're in a faction called Top Flight, you're expected to be a high flyer, and I think wrestling a match that is within Jon Moxley's comfort zone isn't the smartest thing to go about things. Darius does a stupid spot where he Pele kicks off of the top turnbuckle. This didn't work, but he does his like moveset okay. It just needs a lot of improvement, or like a lot of like signature things that make him stand out. Right now, he's pretty much a Marty Jannetty. So the finish of the match is Darius teasing a comeback as he's being choked, but then he's Death Ridered for the win. Mox wins. TV undercard match. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. So after this is a video promo for the main event. It's unconsequential, doesn't give us anything new, but it does remind us that this is going to be the main event. Do not miss the women's match. And so after this is the Powerhouse Hobbs. I think it was a video package more than like a promo. It was promoted as like a sort of orientation of what we're gonna get with Powerhouse Hobbs next, but it just ends up as character development, or like just like some deepening of Hobbs's character. It is effective what he says. It's all too real, but this doesn't move anything on, and I think it's just okay. I was expecting more. And so after this is FTR versus the Gun Club, the most controversial match of the show, because the Cornette fans all hate when FTR lost. And they blame the Bucks, of course, even if Tony Khan is the one who makes the booking decisions. And I think this makes the story a lot more interesting. I think they story told the shit out of the match. Like, use your fucking eyes. The only problem I see is the Guns' moveset. And that's pretty much it. Because the story of the match is that FTR just dominate the shit out of the Gun Club for like the whole match. The Ass Boys were the whipping boys. Like in handicap situations, 1v2s, and FTR still destroy the shit out of them. And isn't wrestling about the storytelling as well as the consistency of selling? Just remember, FTR wrestled a double dog collar match, like a brutal match with the Briscoes. Dax is taped up here, and so it makes sense with how he lost. Because they did dominate the shit out of the Ass Boys, like the whole match. I think the Ass Boys need to improve their moveset the same way that Darius Martin needs to improve his. But the Ass Boys do really well in like the entertainment department. Since when they're getting beaten up or when they're like just talking to the crowd, it's like very compelling to watch. Because the second spot of the match is when I think it's Cash Irish whips Colton to Austin, who's seated on the turnbuckle. And Colton inadvertently hip attacks his brother. They do this twice, and it's really cool. Austin communicates with the crowd very well. He like yells out his usual Ass Boys thing. But the problem with the Guns is that they're just there to wrestle around their opponents. They don't do anything spectacular. They're just pretty much rest holds. They're pretty much just cutting the ring in half. They try a spike pile driver, but this is broken up by Dax or Cash. Yeah, Cash does an outside dive. Third spot of the match is so dumb, but it's so funny. Because Austin Gunn teases a sweet chin music, but he ends it with a suck it at the end. Accomplishing nothing to win the match. Just like pisses the guy off. And the finish here is like really good. Because Dax enters with a taped up hip. You need your hip to kick out. He sort of aggravates the injury when he goes for a powerbomb. And so when Austin Gunn rolls Dax up, Dax, already injured, can barely like extend his legs or his hip to kick out of this pin. And to add to this, Colton Gunn is outside. He provides the leverage for Austin, and then they win the match 1-2-3. That is so fucking consistent and protects FTR so much that I don't think people who criticize this even use their fucking brains. They're just waiting for this opinion of one dude, and then they just say it out. They just regurgitate the shit and pretend like it's theirs. How fucking dumb are you? Any thoughts, Jim? Any thoughts, Vince Russo? Any thoughts, Conan and Disco Inferno? Yeah, please, cut the shit. TV undercard, pay-per-view undercard match. Because of the storytelling, the strengthening of the Guns, but I think it's hindered by like how unremarkable the Guns are in terms of their moveset. They're like all entertainment. It's pretty much the New Age Outlaws. And so after this is like legit the worst segment of the night. It's worse than the next segment that follows this. Because I could barely hear Sanjay Dutt rap. And I get the intention that Sanjay Dutt can't rap. But if you're gonna do something like this, at least make it funny. Sanjay Dutt just sounded like terrible, unfunny. I think he should have tried harder, should have played it up more. Maybe turned the volume up. Dude was just trying to legit rap and then failed. This was just cringe. And just makes me hate this team. X-Pac Heat, get off my TV. It's the worst segment in AEW ever. And speaking of worst segment in AEW ever, maybe number 2 is what comes after, and it's Swerve in Our Glory and their breakup. And so yeah, this is legit the most hated and controversial segment of the entire night for multiple reasons, and a lot of them I understand. And I think there is a reality where this is done a lot better. So Rick Ross is now Swerve's like consistent right hand. He's the manager of the group, and I'm okay with this. I like it because the last time we saw Rick Ross, he does like the emphasizing of Swerve's stuff. He doesn't really go all out. He doesn't try too hard, and it just sounds very natural. I said it was enthusiastic, and I still stick with that. And when he does that here, when he like emphasizes points as well as like some parts of his promo, when he just doesn't repeat something over and over again and it just starts not making sense anymore, he's like really good. But when he just like repeats shit, when it doesn't make sense, when he like basically does like the rap thing where they just say random words to fill airtime, that's when this falls apart. Because the guy just says like young legend and we here to make history like over and over again. And it grates on you and sort of spoils Swerve's promo. Swerve can cut a promo, but after Rick Ross like primes the crowd, negatively primes the crowd, they just like shit on Swerve. They even lose cohesion. Their timing was off. And yeah, I think that's the worst thing about this. The first part. Because Rick Ross's comedic timing, his like timing when he says the stuff, is very poor in this segment. And his timing with Swerve in when they talk also is like not very good. And then when like Swerve like telegraphs the attack from behind by Parker Boudreaux, it just takes a bit of time. It takes like a good 30 seconds. And this would have been okay if the attacker was like a lot more well established, maybe a lot more skilled. Maybe a Lance Archer would have been nice. But no, this was like terrible. Parker Boudreaux does some strikes. It's like already pretty bad, but then he hypes himself up too much. He does the mouth opening thing too much. He sells his own moves. That's how I can describe this. And this was just terrible. Thank God he didn't take out Keith Lee. Keith Lee easily clotheslines him out of the ring. And then there's this other guy who's a former baseball player who looks menacing as fuck but does not have any wrestling experience. He was so bad. He was worse than Parker. They were both green as fuck, but this guy was greener. That when they held Keith Lee for like the stomp with the cinder block, they like hugged each other just to do it. It was so bad. And why even do a stomp on a cinder block? Isn't it more painful if you like throw someone on a cinder block or like hit him with it than doing the step? We're fortunate that Swerve didn't injure himself here because this was like a stupid spot. This faction is dead on arrival despite their awesome hoodies. I think the personnel that was chosen for this segment was poor. This faction is dead on arrival. I understand why Rick Ross is in it. I like Rick Ross for his previous segment, as well as just like having all of his fans tune in just to watch him will be a big help for AEW. But the other two guys, terrible. Just have Swerve recruit mercenaries like during his heel run. You can have like just Rick Ross there with him, and that's enough. Having the two dudes is just terrible. They sucked. Or at least you could have just like given him Lance Archer or Angelico or something. Now they have two big dudes who will probably take all of the pins. You know what? Another great idea would have been to like bring the embassy into this faction. Have Brian Cage be the number 2 and have two competent wrestlers like Khan and Toa to be the muscle. What a garbage segment. But I still think the last one was worse. The rap by Sanjay Dutt is just the fucking worst. And so after this, we get like a short trios promo with the Best Friends and the Dark Order. The Dark Order telegraph Hangman's interference in the match too much, but the Best Friends do their thing perfectly. They state their intentions, and I hope they win. Get Trent's mom a new house. And so for the main event, we have Jamie Hayter versus Hikaru Shida for the AEW Women's Championship. A women's match actually main events Dynamite. And this 100% deserves to be here. Jamie is on the road to becoming the best women's champion this company has ever had, who is capable of just like quality matches all of the time. It's just sad. Like the worst thing to come out of this is that this happens so early in Jamie's title reign that I think Shida was the perfect one to take the title off of her or off of Britt after the inevitable breakup or after that. The match itself was just like really good. Hard hitting start that characterizes the whole match. It's pretty much a Japanese match. There's a lot of posing by Shida and a lot of like talking by Jamie. And there's no wasted motion here because when the match slows down, they use just like funny taunts as well as great facial selling to fill the dead air. I like especially the one where Jamie does lunges outside after throwing Shida to the guardrail. So an honorable mention spot of the match is very unique because Shida is on the guardrail and then Jamie takes a seat on the chair like right next to her and then does rapid stomps. Funny spot, and this isn't the last unique spot they do. And then another honorable mention spot happens when Shida is snap-mared off of the top rope, the top turnbuckle, and then she grabs on the ropes to save herself. They have a prolonged fight on the apron, and we get callbacks to Josh Alexander versus Eddie Edwards when Jamie tries to German suplex Shida onto the floor. If this happened, this would have been top spot of the match. But at least we got like a suplex from the apron to the floor by Shida. And I think this is top spot of the match. They storytell the shit out of this with the like symmetrical running attacks. And they save the slow bits with the hard hits. Another honorable mention is the missed moonsault by Jamie after she sets Shida up with a gourd buster from the top that leads to the Bomaye by Shida when Jamie misses the moonsault. And then the number 4 spot happens. Yes, I'm enlarging the list. Number 4 spot happens when Shida tries to unsheath the katana, her finisher. Hayter falls down. She catches Shida on like this fireman carry neck breaker, Ty Dillinger's finisher, Sean Spears, leading to the "This is awesome" chant. And so number 2 spot is the exchange where Jamie misses a Rainmaker, like Shida counters it, followed by a question mark kick, an axe kick, another unsheath the katana that's missed, countered into a Rainmaker that's also missed, and then finally a release German suplex after this. They worked as fast as the dudes did, or as the dudes do. I think this beats out the Tokyo Joshi Pro matches that I've watched this year. I didn't watch Stardom. I think they have better matches, but with what I've watched, this might be number 2. Number 3 spot is after Shida fends off Britt. She attempts a disaster kick, but then she's caught by Jamie. She counters with a Hurricane Rana, but she's rolled up. She's flipped into a powerbomb by Jamie. This spot might be number 2. Let's switch it up a bit. The crowd are on their feet after the powerbomb, and then this leads to the finish, where Jamie goes for a hard lariat on Shida. She follows it up with a Rainmaker for the win. What a botch-free, tense, dramatic AEW classic, I think. That sets the bar so high for the future of Jamie Hayter's title reign. This deserves a pay-per-view main event level and is one of the best women's matches of the year. I might put it number 2 or 3. Shoko versus Yuka on like Tokyo Joshi Pro might be better, but we'll see. The best is still Masha versus Jordan Grace. So after the match, the heels attack Shida. Toni Storm goes in for the save. She fails. Saraya goes in, and the heels are driven off, leaving the babyfaces in the ring to stand tall. So yeah, this is obviously a setup for the tag team match, I think, with Saraya and a mystery partner against Baker and Hayter. You can get to that even if we have like this trios combination here. The women's division is in its best state yet. And thank you, Jamie Hayter. Thank you, Hikaru Shida. So yeah, this was a great Dynamite match-wise, but segment-wise, not the best. Might be the weakest AEW has been. But really, the matches save this show. Especially that main event. So this is like a slightly above average Dynamite. They ended it with a bang, but those fucking segments need to get better because, God, we truly watched some of the most awful trash tonight. Sanjay Dutt, Swerve in Our Glory, cut the shit. So yeah, like, comment, and subscribe for engagement, share if you don't know me, hit that bell notification for future videos, and please watch my shit.